Hey, how's it going all you most basic people? Welcome back. I'm Landon Dallatsing, and if you guys missed our last video, click right over here. Also, I'll put our last video in the description down below. Can you guys guess who's gonna be in it? Is it gonna be hashtag Danny, hashtag Rebecca, or hashtag Landon? We try to mix it up for you guys, keep you guys on your feet. Okay, so judges are responsible for sentencing criminals based on the crimes that they have committed. Some of these crimes are so brutal or horrendous that the judge will order someone to spend thousands of years or multiple life sentences behind bars. I mean, is this real life right now? I don't really think so. What are you, sentencing a vampire? So let's take a look at the top 10 convicts given insane prison sentences. Starting off this brutal list, number 10, we have Abdullah Barghouti. He pleaded guilty in 2004 to building the bombs that were responsible for murdering 66 people and wounding more than 500. An Israeli court handed him one life sentence for each person he killed and one more for wounding the hundreds of other people. So in total, he was sentenced to 67 life sentences. Because that wasn't enough, he was also sentenced for 50 to 100 years without the chance of parole. Oh, and he's currently held in solitary confinement and he is denied visitors. Who would want to visit him? Number 9, things get pretty bad with Paul Geidel Jr., who was sentenced to 68 years and 245 days. He was only 17 years old when he was convicted of second-degree murder, and this is back in 1911, and he was actually released on May 7th, 1980 at the age of 86 years old. Interestingly enough, he was actually granted parole in 1974, but because he was in a prison all of his adult life, he was actually scared about living on the outside of the prison because of how much the world's changed since he was arrested. So he actually chose to stay in jail for an additional 6 years. He spent his last 7 years of freedom in a nursing home before dying at the age of 93 years old. Really sad story. Things get brutal in at number 8 with Terry Nichols. He was sentenced to 162 life sentences plus 93 years without parole. He was convicted of 161 counts of first-degree murder, first-degree arson, and conspiracy to use a weapon of mass destruction for his involvement in the Oklahoma City bombing, which took place in April of 1995. He was also sentenced in federal court for terrorism and 8 counts of involuntary manslaughter. He holds the record for the most consecutive life sentences ever given to a person. For sure, a record you just don't want to hold. And you know what? Good. He seems like a terrible human being, so I'm just glad he's just left behind bars. Just forget about him. Henri Parot comes into this list at number 7. He was arrested in April of 1990 after he was engaged in a gunfire incident with the Spanish police. He was actually tried and convicted of 26 murders and 166 attempted murders between the years of 1978 and 1990. He was also convicted of being involved in a bombing which killed 11 more people. So in total, this man received a prison sentence of 4,797 years. And now at number 6, we have 4 people who were sentenced each to 6,060 years in jail. These 4 people were formerly soldiers, and they were given the sentence for their involvement in a massacre that murdered 250 people back in 1982. They all pleaded not guilty, but obviously the judge had sufficient evidence as he based his sentencing on the fact that they committed crimes against humanity. I guess justice will be served for all of those lives lost. Next up at number 5, we have Dudley Kyzer, who was sentenced to 10,000 years in jail. Let's hope he's a vampire. I mean, how do you serve that much time? This man was convicted of killing his wife, her mother, and a university student back on Halloween night back in 1976. He was initially sentenced to death via the electric chair in 1977, but that conviction was overturned. He retired in 1981 and he was sentenced to 2 life sentences plus 10,000 years. I mean, this judge is so brutal, but I think the sentencing, you know what, is pretty accurate. Darren Benelford Anderson makes it onto this list at number 4. He was convicted of rape of an elderly woman, larceny, robbery, and kidnapping. So initially he was sentenced to jail for 2,250 years, but he decided to appeal this conviction. I think he must have had the worst lawyer in history because he was sentenced to an additional jail term of 9,500 years. How do you appeal and get more years? This brings his grand total to, I gotta put this into calculator, 11,750 years in prison. I think it's safe to say this guy's gonna die in prison. Yeah. And wait, he must have gotten another lawyer after that because his sentence was actually later decreased by 500 years. I mean, why even bother? Like, let's bring a 9,500 year sentence just down to 9,000. Okay, so now at number 3 is Charles Scott Robinson. A judge sentenced Charles to 30,000 years in prison because you know what? 1,000 years wasn't enough. 100 years wasn't enough because he wanted to ensure that he would never ever get released from prison. Charles was convicted of raping 6 children because the judge wanted to give him the harshest punishment possible. He was sentenced to 5,000 years for each of the 6 counts against him. The judge ordered the years to be served consecutively, so Charles would spend the rest of his natural life in jail. Next up at number 2, we have Othman El Nawi, who was sentenced away for 42,924 years. He is a Moroccan jihadist, a terrorist, and he was given such a lengthy sentence. And this is for his participation in the 2004 Madrid train bombings that claimed the lives of 191 people. However, due to the Spanish law, the maximum amount of time that a person will face behind bars is only 40 years. This just seems so crazy because if he was tried in the States, he would be in prison for life without the possibility of parole, or he would be sentenced to death. Finally, at number 1 spot, we have Chamoy Thipyaso. This woman is known for receiving the world's longest prison sentence, and this is for her involvement in a pyramid scheme. She was sentenced in 1989 for 141,078 years, and that's because of this pyramid scheme was estimated to have been worth $200 to $300 million, and it defrauded over 16,000 people. She was extremely lucky though, because Thai law states that regardless of the sentence given, the maximum time that someone would spend in jail for fraud is only 20 years. So she was probably like, you know what, I'm already committed to this 20 years, let's just go all out because that's all they can book me for. Well, there you guys have it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you guys very soon where we do this whole thing all over again.